Welcome back to episode number 49. We are rattling these out again and again and again. This is Wednesday. We've done a podcast Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to us, whenever you are seeing our lovely faces. I hope you're all good and well. Connor, mate, for the third time in a row, bro. I know I asked you this question about 24 hours ago, but how you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
How you past 5 meals been since you last spoke to me?
You're pretty good, man. I'm pretty hungry, which is nice.
That's
A
good to hear.
bit of a change. No, everything's good, mate. Everything is good. Um, Nothing to update you on. Surprise somehow
Mate, what?
in
You've not
about
done
12
anything in the
hours,
past
nothing to
24
update
hours,
you.
mate.
Yeah,
Okay, pretty weird.
crazy. I did actually. You won't appreciate this because you don't like Marvel, or you don't know what Marvel is. But you
I,
know who Iron Man is?
yeah, mate. I know
Come
he's the
on,
one that wears it's a gold suit, isn't it, in red?
red. Yeah, I bought a lamp, an Iron Man lamp
Oh, brilliant.
for the desk. It's like a ring light.
That's class.
Fucking sick. 30 quid. Banging. When
What?
we went to like return Lucy's old phone to the phone shop today, because she got a new one. And we found this shop, it's called Menkind, and they
Mate,
just have, like really sick like gifts for men. And I was like, oh mate, I need this.
I bet you saw it was like, I need that so bad.
I took a picture of it and I was like, right, we're gonna walk around, I'm gonna think about it, and if I still want it, I'm getting it.
I don't know, but I don't know what DC is, mate. I don't know,
Shocking.
I don't know what DC is, I don't know Marvel. Yeah, man, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, mate. I know it's bad because I know people love their films, but I'm just there chilling, just like chilling, okay? Like
It's
Doctor
probably a lot
Strange.
less stressful that you don't know what's going on because so much has happened. It's a whole nother thing you got to worry about.
Yeah, mate, Hulk and him being all, like, a scientist and stuff. I'm like, mate, my man's going through a tough time, mate. I don't need that stress.
Exactly, bro. You got to worry about other shit.
He gets angry, turns green. The guy's living in like a massive tower, the Stark Tower or something. Next thing you know,
There
he's.
you go.
Do you know what I mean, mate? I
No,
don't.
some bits.
So, it's not like I searched it up, you know. I didn't like search it up pre-pod, but yeah, man, I do know my things, mate.
Come on.
But this is a special one.
Got an
This is
exciting
a special
episode
one.
today.
We'll talk about Marvel and DC another day, mate.
Yeah.
When search up more and I can remember a few more things about Superman and all
We
that
can actually
sort of
hold
stuff.
a conversation.
Yeah, mate. Yeah,
Yeah.
Superman and how super he is. But anyway, on this episode, we have got George Osborne on the pod. I'm gonna let him in now. He's gonna come in. We're gonna talk about a few things. It's gonna be a really, really interesting one. So let's get into it.
Oh yeah.
I have.
This will be a good one. I
It'll be
already
good,
know.
man. It'll be good. He's come up as Dr. Wick, so hopefully it's not. Hopefully,
There he is.
yes, here he is.
It's Dr. Wicks, apparently.
Here he is. I was gonna say wearing the pink to match as well.
Yeah, mate, it's a nice colour to be fair. I rate
Mate, it
it.
suits you.
No, I appreciate it.
It suits
Appreciate
you,
it, mate.
mate.
We've all got fresh trims today. Did
Yeah,
you all
mate.
get trimmed today?
I've got a beard trim today,
Well, you say
yeah.
fresh trim, mate. He says haircut, but it's not really a haircut, is it? Like you said, it's
Yeah, you got the beard done.
you
Yeah,
got the
beard
beard
done.
done, mate.
I do my hair myself because it grows out like every day and it start looking like an old man on the sides here. So yeah, it's fucking shit. And I use growth hormone as well, which it
Makes it.
grows my hair like nobody's business.
Mate, and the nails, mate. The
Yeah.
nails, don't even get me started on the nails, mate. I never used to like have long nails and then they come like really hard and stuff. I'm thinking, yeah, really, really
Um,
hard.
Boys, I just want to say, and I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm both big fans of you two, not only physique wise, but coaching, business, all that sort of good stuff. So, no, it's a pleasure to be on something like this. I appreciate it a lot.
And that,
Thank
mate, we appreciate you, mate, because that's obviously I
you.
saw you yesterday, Old Flex Derby, and we were always going to invite you on. And I was thinking, let's just get him on. It was like literally, they're like, why not we just get him on? I saw him today, and obviously we're talking about your prep and what you've been doing and where you're at and where your head's at, which is good. And wanted to sort of speak about everything. To be honest, we're not doing an introduction on you, mate, because let's be honest, everyone knows who you are anyway. If you don't, this is
Oh,
George. And to be fair, mate, if you don't know who he is, then to be fair, I don't think anyone will be watching this
Yeah.
podcast and not know who George is. So we're not going to go through where'd you start training, mate? I was 14 in my garage with my mum, and yeah, she bought me a barbell. So, um, no, I want to go through everything. Obviously, how are you, mate? Obviously, I know you mentioned you were out and about today, but how's everything been the past week? Obviously, telling people that you're prepping now, because obviously the last time I saw you, before yesterday you were thinking about prepping, and then I saw you
Yeah.
are prepping. So
Yeah, so actually, I've been dieting for about 12 weeks now, I would say. And I came towards the end of it, and Vicky was like to me, George, you're quite lean right now. Why do you actually think about maybe just stepping into a show and see where you are? And like me, like mentally, when I've always gone to prep, it's kind of like, okay, like it's fucking game time, you know? When you're prepping, it's like, right, dial in, focus, like you want to be treating every day like it's the best version of you and there's no slip ups. And if you slip up, you're like a failure of a bodybuilder. That's the mentality that I've had. So this diet's been it's been very consistent for my standards, 99% more than most people ever will. But I have had the few moments where things have been, you know, a couple of grams over, or for example, when I was it was Vicky's birthday in July, early July, and we went out for sushi whilst I was dieting. If I was in a prep sort of setting, I probably would be a bit hesitant to go and do that, to be honest with you. That's just how I like to approach these preps. I know many people get away with doing that, but me, I'm just like, no, I can't do that. I've been having like, you know, iced coffees, which are like, you know, 50 calories here, you know, in a prep. Usually in the past, I would never do anything like that. It's just everything is to the T, nothing outside of that. Almost kind of like I like the pressure and the restriction element of it because it feels like I'm really like dug into it. So yeah, she was like, "What do you do?" And I was like, I don't feel like I've been prepping. So I thought, fuck it, you know what? I'll give it a go. Yes, I do want to make more improvements, but I'm quite happy with the improvements that I've made since 2022. So I think for me, like I said to you yesterday or the other week, Tom, about, you know, just going in and just having a bit of fun because that's what competing is for me. It doesn't earn me money. You know, I'm not a professional at that any standards. So just go in, have some fun, document it. I thrive off that sort of stuff, and see where we stand in a, you know, now a very small fish in a huge pond
mm,
because that's what
a
it is
very
right
big
now.
pond, mate.
Very
A
big
very
pond.
big pond. But that's what we speak about on here, mate, when we have young up and coming coaches, athletes coming up, and they have the pressure where they need to make everything absolutely perfect. And like people know you for putting pressure on yourself, and obviously being that person that like wants to nail absolutely everything, like a lot of bodybuilders. But like you said there, mate, the transition from being a little bit more not even laid back, because I say it's laid back, but you still make sure that you nail everything alongside having a 50-calorie iced coffee. But
Yeah,
this is what we talk about a lot of the time, where the whole outcome is going to be for enjoyment anyway, because we
yeah.
do bodybuilding because we love training. That is the outcome essentially. But I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves to a certain point where it actually goes into a negative, and then they see the stress element increase. They have that effect on their physique. Next thing you know, they take a step back. And how many times have you been on prep? And I spoke to people on prep who are 4 weeks out, and they go, "I can't wait to be a little bit less dialed in, and I go to a shop and I can pick up what I want, and then just and I'm thinking, and the next thing you know, afterwards, it never really happens. But in your case here, mate, it's really cool to see because you haven't put that pressure on yourself this time. Obviously, I know
Yeah.
the pressure will build up the closer it will get, and that will naturally happen. But
Mm.
especially documenting stuff as well, like you can just see the way you're conducting yourself, mate, is a lot different to previous preps, where, like you said, you nail absolutely everything. You wouldn't go out for a sushi meal. If obviously you're in a prep scenario, you wouldn't be drinking a nice coffee, you'd be having a black Americano, all these different
Do
things. But
that.
obviously, has that shown you a lot? Into I know a lot of people do if it fits your macros. I'll never have a prep client do if it fits your macros. Never. I'll always have them on a cassette meal plan. But have you found it been helpful where you can be like, I can still implement that sort of stuff, or are you still implement now you've transitioned into this prep? Are you still doing that, or have you been like, actually no, I'm in prep mode now, so I'm not going to have a nice coffee.
You know what? Just going back a little bit. I've always surrounded myself, especially in the natural field. I was surrounded by AJ Morris, Jack Thorburn, and
Mhm.
these people, you know, advocates of fucking dialing. You know, like I've just engraved that mentality from them a lot of the time. So now that I've, you know, been coaching myself and I've just been a bit more laid back in terms of that sort of approach, it's proven to me that I can be this relaxed
Mhm.
and actually not have to be this all or nothing sort of bodybuilder that has to, you know, restrict my days because it all revolves around the prep. You know, I've like for example, today we went up to Cheshire Oaks, which is like a designer retail place up there. And you know, normally in a prep I wouldn't do that because I'm like, right, meal timers need to be perfect. If it's 30 minutes late, you're not fucking good enough, you're gonna fail. You're gonna wake up next day be fatter. That's the natural sort of
Mhm.
AJ Morris, Jack Thorburn sort of mentality. And if you go a gram or two over, or if you like don't do this, you know, you're a failure of a person. But reality is when you actually take a step back, it doesn't mean shit. So yeah, it's actually been quite nice to actually not put as much pressure on myself. However, I am putting a little bit of pressure on myself now as it is I'm prepping, but
Mhm.
trying to make a bit more effort, for example, on rest days or still doing things that we can do which doesn't involve fucking food or, taking away from the actual prep. I still want to keep that as a huge priority because at the end of the day, like I always say, like especially in relationships, like it does have a big stress on that. And I never want my relationship to ever be affected because I'm being very selfish going into a prep. And that's what a lot of people do. And I think it's wrong.
Mhm. No, I agree. I
Yeah,
agree
it's
completely. I think,
100%.
and this is where I listen to your podcast about like relationships within prep. My relationship with Charles heading into the prep was the best it's ever been. And
Mhm.
then I actually came out the other side and we were like, we're even closer than what we were beforehand. Like we actually like it enhanced our relationship tenfold, like ridiculously. Like we came closer in a way. We communicated better. She understood me a little bit more. And when you have somebody in your corner, like backing you 100% and understanding how you feel, but they're not in the situation themselves, it makes you like, realize how sort of lucky you are in that scenario to be like, thank you so much for understanding that I do feel like this. But like you said there, mate, it's obviously you've got a lot of novelty with going into this prep in a different mindset. So you probably are going to find yourself in a position where it's there like, okay, now I'm actually officially prepping. You
Yeah.
might find yourself sort of like going back into your old ways and all that. So it's like trying to sort of like be present and being like, no, I'm trying to stop that. And that's the hardest part probably of what you'll find over this period of time where you'll find yourself going back to your old ways, something like mindset who you were before, which is not a bad thing at the end of the day, mate. Like you come in 100%, you come in peeled, but
Mm.
you can bring a better package or a good enough package that you did previously while taking a much more laid back approach. And I say laid back with these because at the end of the day, you can't be laid back in a prep, but you can do things to negate stress and do things like that, which is important, mate. And you'll find it being much more present in that time. And you'll bring a better physique, stress will be lower, and time will probably go quicker as well, to be honest, because you're not thinking about meal time being at 5:30. And that's why I said to you here, mate, is it all right going on at 5:30 because you might have a meal time? You're like, yeah, man, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It's cool.
normally I eat around 5:30, but I've just put the salmon on. I've got to eat afterwards. Not the end of the world.
Yeah, mate,
Um,
that's a thing, man. It's good to see. But what do you think about the whole? Because my first exposure to bodybuilding was Cuba. Was when AJ and Cuba they were prepping at the same time.
yeah.
I remember watching their YouTube videos, and I was thinking, I need to be like this. I
Mm.
need to be like this. And now they're like, and now they're in prep as well. So they manage everything in the off season 100%. When they're in prep and they're like, do this, do this, do this. And I was there like, I need to do this. And I was thinking, years down the line now, it's like I'm just sort of coming out of it, like realizing that you don't need to be like that. And but I'm so thankful that I was like that. Like, I'd never say that I didn't wish that time away, but I'm so thankful that I was that anal. So I wouldn't have made the progress that I was now. But it's made me understand that I can sort of pull back, be 99% in my eyes, but still nail everything, but put less pressure on myself.
Yeah.
But did you find what was your first exposure to bodybuilding, Connor? Like it was obviously James James Holland's had all that lot, but did you ever look at AJ and that sort of stuff?
What for
Yeah,
me?
so
Or for George?
But both of you. Who
All
was
right.
your first? Who was
go
your
on, Colin. You go, mate. You go.
I think my first proper one was James. When I first went into Kings, he was training with JP, but I didn't know who JP. I didn't even know who either of them were. But James was the one that took my attention the most, just because it was more because I thought he looked weird because he was like super hairy, wore no socks, wore sandals in the gym, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was used to leisure center gyms. I go to Kings for the first time. I see that I was like, that's fucking weird. Found out who he is, kind of did a little bit of research. Didn't know it was JP until months down the line, probably. Um, but I'd say James was probably the most like right at the beginning. AJ was definitely a big one because I wanted to do like natty bodybuilding before lockdown. I wanted to start in natty bodybuilding, obviously, and I actually got AJ to do one of those like a physique assessment that he used. Like you could pay separately for a physique assessment.
It
I
wasn't a free. It
did,
wasn't a free physique assessment. It wasn't a
no,
free
bro.
one.
No,
No.
What?
And I
no.
had Bridgman as my coach, and yeah, I'd say that was sort of like it was the AJ was like the main one I think through
Mhm.
YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
James was like through in person because he wasn't really doing social media back then.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, definitely AJ, I'd say.
That's it. Well, you've been bodybuilding now for like what, 7, 8 years now, George? Eight,
Yeah,
nine?
yeah, about 8 years now, to be honest with you. Yeah, so fucking decent time, to be honest.
Oh,
I think my first person I followed was Jack Thorburn. actually. Yeah, I used to follow him. Yeah, we saw that, Tom. We saw that.
Mate, you said, I was like, I'm gonna get all over me. I'm like, gosh.
Yeah, Jack Warburton, to be honest with you, and it got to a point where I was following Jack so much that I still know his stories off by heart now. I don't need to look at his stories to know what he's posting.
Yeah.
It's the same old meal number one: the protein, the vegetables in the morning, the black coffee, the cardio. He's been doing that for years. So obviously following Jack, obviously he was close with AJ at the time, and then that's sort of how I got into it with those two boys, to be honest with you. But I think the actual bodybuilding exposure was probably like Christian Guzman back in the day. We used to watch
Hmm.
a lot of his vlogs.
Yeah.
Chris Jones, Physiques of Greatness. He's now Pump Chasers, American guy that used to do YouTube. Um, Carly Muscle, is his name Cali
Yeah.
Muscle, something
Oh
like that.
my God, Cali
Uh,
Muscle.
yeah, he used to just be this fucking huge guy that used to just do some crazy shit. So I was just like, that was my first sort of exposure was YouTube, to be honest with you. Then I've sort of dived into it a little bit more on the old Instagram with Forbes and AJ.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. And would you say you're thankful for being? Because I would say you're going through that transitional period that I've been going through for the past, like I said to you, over the past sort of like 6 to 8 months, where I'm sort of trying to teach myself that I don't need to be as anal, but
Yeah.
still make sure that I'm still nailing everything. But would you say you're still thankful for being that sort of person? Well, you still are to a sense, mate, but are you
Yeah.
thankful for being going through that for the past 7 years and sort of like transitioning into this sort of creating your own sort of path in terms of that haven't got to be as on it as much in terms of putting pressure on yourself?
Yeah, I think so because I would be single on my own if I did, to be honest with you. Like I would have no life. Like I don't have many friends, any friends at all. I don't go out and meet up with people. I don't do anything. I'm just very much very orientated around my day and my routine and being the best version of myself. So I'm actually very grateful for Vicky because she's opened up my eyes a little bit in terms of, we nail absolutely everything still, but just doing that little bit more outside of what I usually would do because, like I
Mhm.
said, I'd just be completely on my own in a
That's what
room.
it's all about, mate. That's what
Yeah,
still nailing everything, but having those times they can sort of like disconnect yourself from bodybuilding.
yeah, yeah. Sure. Like I think early in the year we went to Thailand for a month, and I would have never done that if I didn't meet Vicky. Never just packed a bag and just gone, fuck it, I'm just gonna go somewhere and book it a week before, you know.
Yeah, she was talking about that. It was pretty funny. She was like, we were backpacking, but we were getting like hotels and stuff. It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
So,
it's crazy.
let's go
Yeah, it's
backpacking in Thailand, but getting like a 4-star hotel.
yeah. So yeah, I would be on my own, to be honest, just completely on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps. It does help a lot, man, having that person that can disconnect you massively. But going on to your prep now, mate. Obviously, you've been dieting now for what, 4, 12,
Yeah,
13 weeks?
about 13 now, 13 and a half weeks.
How many? How much like heavier are you now compared to like different sort of? Obviously, I know you can't compare yourself to being state condition yet, but compared to where you were previously, this far out from a show, how
Oh,
much heavier are you now?
so my lightest in 2022 was a whopping 64.9 kilos. Keep in mind, I am 5'5", unfortunately. So it's not good. It's being natural and being that size, you're never going to be big, unfortunately. Right now, this morning I was 75.9. So
Mm. Yeah.
I'm not as lean as what I was before, don't get me wrong, but I don't need 10 kilos to come off of me or 11 kilos, that's for sure. So there's
Hmm.
definitely not that I don't care about how much I weigh, to be honest with you. I just it is what it is. Whatever will be, what will be. I'm always get disheartened when I'm 64 kilos and seeing that. It's fucking tragic. You work this hard to get 64 kilos and I'm fitting into an extra small t-shirt and it's still baggy on me. But that's the reality of what I've had to do. But I reckon if I had to guess, maybe a good 5 kilos or so of scale weight. I reckon I'll be if I was inside out around 70, I would say.
But so you're looking about just like 10 to 12 pounds there.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And considering three-quarters of that was just completely natural as well.
Hmm.
Minus obviously, I would say about 10 weeks post prep in 2022. And the use of growth hormone and insulin at the back end of my off season. Most three-quarters of it has been half natty.
Yeah, because we were speaking about that, though, weren't we? Where you've been doing TRT, then
Yeah.
obviously you came back obviously just above the natural range there. But man metabolizes testosterone like no man's business. I'm genuinely. Um,
I just wanted on the thing on that topic, I've I've had my blood work multiple times, well, up to over 10 plus times in the last 2 years of me doing or down the assisted route. My natural testosterone sits around 13 nanomoles without any drugs. So realistically, like for example, right now, like the testosterone I'm using, so I'm using 90 milligrams of testosterone right now, and that puts me at 29 nanomoles. So whilst people sit there and go, oh, well, you're still in the natural range, which makes sense, absolutely, yeah, sure, but that's still 2.5 times normal, or nearly 3 times normal, my um, natural testosterone that I produce.
yeah,
So whilst that isn't a cycle to maybe some people, because I'm not in the super physiological ranges, it's a cycle for me.
Mm.
And this is the thing that I see people go wrong. They go into, 250 milligrams of testosterone in the first cycle. Okay, brilliant, sure, but they've not got any blood work to show what was beforehand, so they have no idea. And the mistake that I made, for example, after my show in 2022, is I went from 3 nanomoles a test, and I went on to 150 milligrams of testosterone with Cal, and I went up to like 45 in the space of like 2 weeks. And that's like 12 times, 13 times more than my natural testosterone at the time. And that it's just when I think about it, it's absolutely stupid, doing something like that. Yes, I made huge progress. Yes, I was fucking gained 10 kilos in 10 weeks and I was a complete different person, complete different breed. At the same time, like, looking back now, like this is more than enough for me to make progress at the pace that I want to with minimal side effects and not taken away from any other aspect.
that's the most important thing, man. So I remember seeing you post prep and talking to you, mate. You were doing these like single arm dumbbell rows,
Yeah.
20 kilo progressions. And I'm like, mate, like you have to be careful. 'Cause I remember saying, like, I said to me, your strength is going to go from like 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 10 kilo progression. I'm like, this guy is making. And I remember you talking about the injuries. Like, obviously, like I said, people don't think about that side of things where injuries in terms of when you go from being such a depleted state post prep to then going from it's a 3 nanomole to 45 nanomole, not only
Yeah.
from a strength perspective, but also mentally as well. You've gone
Yeah.
from such being in a low state. Now you're going from literally 0 to 100, where it's like training's good, feeling's like if I can sleep better, my libido's high. It's like usually for a natural, it takes about 6 months for it to come back. Mate, that
Yeah.
comes back in like 6 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
not even
If
that.
that.
If that, mate.
Yeah.
So like, honestly, like 2 weeks, you're like literally everything's back to normal. Boom, straight away. And then you're thinking, I want to go in there, I want to lift some. Like, so next thing you know, it's not just a side effects of like from an overall like physique perspective, but also as well, you got to think of the injury side, the psychological side that it brings as well. Because next thing you know,
Yeah.
you back down to TRT, and next thing you know, it's like look where it's all gone. So all these different things that people don't even think about, let alone blood work as well, mate. If you're not getting blood
Yeah.
work done prior to your first cycle, but it was pretty crazy going through that time when I was seeing you dumbbell rowing like 70 kilo dumbbells.
Yeah, it was. I've never actually recovered from those injuries that I got from doing that, to be honest with you. I was like dumbbell rowing my body weight at the time or some shit like that, which being, stage conditioned like 2 weeks after the show, because I was just getting leaner, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
After that was not good for my elbows, my knee. I got Oscar Slatters disease from playing a lot of football when I was younger. And that was fucking hugely flaring up after my show because I was doing some fucking ridiculous stuff on the hack squat. For relative to me, it's not fucking compared to you
Yeah,
guys.
but the Arsenal hack though, mate, that's what you progress that, and I'm thinking, mate, this guy's on a Mac.
Yeah, yeah. So I do look back at that now, and I do regret that. I do wish I kind of stayed. I was too excited to go on. As bad as it sounds, I was too excited to start the old gear than I was to do the British finals. To be honest with you, that was sitting in my cupboard. I was ready to go. I started 2 days post show. So looking back on that, I wish I allowed myself to recover naturally to an extent and then dive into that rather than 2 days post show, just hop on my first cycle and boom, off we go. Because I went into something which is very selfish, a prep, to then using steroids, which is even more selfish in itself. And for me, it was the mental aspect. I was just like telling Cal, like, Cal, when are we going to start ramping up gear? When are we going to start escalating things?
Mhm.
Reality is like, I told Vicky I was going to come off and actually just start fresh, just come back down to baseline. But then I started lying to her and pinning gear behind her back. And, you know, she's a qualified doctor. She's one of the smartest people I've ever known. She asked me, are you using, you still jabbing? I'm like, no. But then if she sees me, I'm just like fucking brimmed. My delts are fucking the cappiest I've ever looked. I'm bursting full. I'm fucking waking up in the middle of the night and my boners are so like, yeah, you're still on, mate. You've not been off for the last 4 weeks, have you? So yeah, I didn't want it to get messy like that. And I did take a step back. I went completely off from that, which was mentally hard as fuck, to be honest with you. I remember there was a few days where I was just laying in bed like so like emotionless and so demotivated. But I'm so glad I went through that because, I could have easily ruined my relationship just because of me lying and becoming this
Mm.
person that I didn't want to become because I was so fucking focused on trying to progress and want more. And there's so much more to bodybuilding, especially post show. Post show is about giving back. I did that. I just went into fucking gear and all this sort of stuff and started glamorizing it on my YouTube channel, like, oh, viral and I'm out and about and I've got fucking random boners in the supermarket and shit. It's the reality is that that's what happens, but
Mm.
no one really talks about that. But I was sitting there like a kid in a fucking candy shop and I was thinking, no. And the reality is that my YouTube at the time was, some videos were hitting 100,000 views each time, and I was, earning like 5, 6 grand off YouTube a month on its own. I was thinking, I fucking made it. I've made it. This is my life now. And reality is like, regardless how much I was earning, whatever, like, I don't care about the money. I care about my relationship and happiness more than just earning fucking that amount on YouTube. So yeah, I don't know how I even got into that, but
No,
fucking
but this is why I wanted to get you on, mate, because it's so important that we're touching the subject. Because a lot of people will be going through this, like yourself. Like they have a relationship, they're young, they probably see all this on Instagram where people are talking about openly about steroid usage and what they're going through, what they're using, the positives. And you do see more positives than negatives, mate. Everyone goes, oh, you should always listen to it. And that's why we always talk about the negatives. We've done a whole episode on what you should actually take into consideration before actually going on anabolics. Because everyone sees the positives but
yeah,
nobody actually understands that there are probably just as many negatives,
if not
probably
more.
more
Yeah.
negatives than positives when it comes to taking anabolic steroids. And like you said there, you've got a completely different perspective on where it affected you not only, but also like physically with injuries, but also mentally, people around you, all that sort of stuff. And you come out the other side using less, making more progress, and also as well developing as a person, not only from an athlete perspective, but also as a general person as well.
yeah.
So do you see where I'm coming from? That's why it's understanding where it's important to understand that you can indefinitely take a better route to other people and do what's best for you, negating your situation in terms of being in a relationship, putting that first. Because at the end of the day, the happier you are, the more progress you're going to make.
100%.
So, and people need to understand that it's not just all positives of being on gear and taking loads and wanting more. Like you said, you wanted more and more and more because
Yeah.
you do feel great. Let's not lie about it. You do feel great, but there are so many ups and downs where you need to understand that when there is an up, there is a down, and when the downs they can be pretty low, and that's what people don't talk about, in my opinion, and they should talk about it more often, like
Yeah.
mentally being in that spot. So that's why I wanted to bring you on, mate, because you've been through it all, but also as well, you've been through it in quite a short duration of time.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, we can always, like, 2022 coming out, going straight into a super physiological range, going into that, you're seeing the positives, and then next thing you know, affect your relationship, come back down mentally. And so you're sort of finding your feet where they're like, well, this is what's working for me, not only as a person, but as an athlete. Next thing you know, it's nice to see you sort of like find that balance now where people look at you not only as, oh, a good athlete, but also as well, he's actually enjoying himself.
Yeah, exactly that. That's what I stand for. I always say with the psychological aspect, it's never gonna. I think Vicky has got a good like term she uses for it, but it never shows up on a blood test. The psychological aspect of body
Mhm.
of taking steroids. And the reality is, the what people don't realize is that when you do your first cycle, you've always for the rest of your life now you've got that comparison,
Mhm.
and reality is like nothing ever compares to that high. Nothing in your life, like you got to live with that for the rest of your life. When you are in feeling like Superman, you can fucking walk down dark alleyway, feel like you can take anyone on. You come back down to baseline and it's just like, it just doesn't hit the same anymore. Nothing in your life hits the same. And it's something that, as soon as you dive into this, you're just in this sort of constant vicious circle of come off, and then you see it in the industry so much nowadays where people come off and they go into hybrid training and they
Yeah.
stay away from bodybuilding, and then they get fucking bored of that and they're back into
Back into
bodybuilding,
bodybuilding.
back on cycle, and then they're going to come off again and they're going to focus on their health and other aspects, and 10 years or 5 years later they're back on again. It's just going around a circle. That is it, unfortunately.
It's
It
true.
is.
It's true. You did mention Superman there. Are you a Marvel fan?
No, I'm not a fan of any of that. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes.
No, I
Mate,
can't.
Connor's gonna hate us.
I
Connor is
know.
hating us. I don't even know apparently DC and Marvel are two different things.
No, I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Thank you so much, mate. I don't have a clue what you talk about.
Oh
But
yeah, no, I ain't got a clue.
no, I was like, I have to mention it because it can't just be me who doesn't even know what Marvel is or whatnot. And there we have it. So Connor with his
I'm the odd one out.
Iron Man lamp right now is going schizo. But no, it's true though, mate. It's true. People, I think, with John it is as well with hybrid training and this 5K runs and all that sort of stuff. People go, it's like getting the best pair of shoes and then run like an extra 5 minutes like quicker. That's what like anabolics does to progression in the gym. They don't have that high of like seeing that progression straight away. You can go on for 2 weeks and you'll look and feel completely different. Your training will exponentially improve. Like
Yeah.
you can get the best night running shoes ever. You're still not going to go any faster.
It's a lot of it is placebo effect at the start as well. Like
Oh, for sure, mate. For
obviously
sure.
I started very, very young, but I remember going home the night that I started after my session and thinking like fucking hell, I'm bigger already. Like I've grown. And I remember like posing in the mirror, I was like, fuck mate, this is sick. It is a lot of it placebo, but when it does kick in, it is I know exactly what you mean. The high is uncomparable. Like you can't compare it to anything.
Mhm.
Honestly, like I think the reality is like when you dive into the old steroid aspect of things, you know who's on gear in the gym versus who isn't. You know when someone walks around and he's like, chest out, he thinks he owns the place, that dickhead sort of behavior.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you are on cycle, it does do that to you. It does.
Do you,
I
do you
know,
ever notice like you can smell it on some people?
oh yeah, I mean
You
like
can like, actually smell it.
ultra
No, you
flex.
can't, mate. We sound so weird, but it's so
You can
true.
smell it. Like
Yeah.
the oil was like in the sweat. You
Yeah,
can
mate.
smell
It's
it.
so true.
Yeah,
It's
I
true.
mean, Ultraflex Rotherham posing room is
Yeah.
the pivotal of trend sweat or whatever fuck knows is going on in there. To be
Yeah.
honest, smell it left, right, and center. Honestly,
Yeah.
like even when I first went on, I used to post show. I used to be, I used to really have quite bad night sweats.
Yeah.
And honestly, I used to wake up and the sheets would stink. And from that aspect, I know not many people talk about that, but you know, like living your life like that, especially you wake up every single day and you got to change the bed sheets because you fucking sweat and it stinks of like fucking dirty old man BO, every single night. It's not a nice environment to be. It
The reason
isn't.
why I'm laughing, mate, because it's so true. It's so
I was literally talking about this to Lucy earlier. Like my overall like body temperature is so much higher. Like even when it's cold outside, I'm walking around in shorts and t-shirt and I'm sweating. I fucking hate it. I'm just always hot all the time. And when there's heat waves in the UK, which is horrible anyway, it's almost unbearable. Like I hate it.
It
It's
is.
it's disgusting.
Yeah,
But
and
these are the things that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Hmm.
it's for me like I feel like so like when I lay in bed and Vicky's next to me, I'm sweating and I wake up and it just smells. So it's not how I want to be like perceived by her. It's not attractive at all. All because I want to perform better in the gym and look a certain way. Like you sometimes really deep things and actually think, fucking hell, you know what? Is this actually worth it? This is I'm doing. We sit here and we go, oh look at when we go for a walk, I go for a walk in the park and I see homeless fucking people, injecting themselves and I think, oh, they're fucking dirty. But then, what's the difference between me doing it in the back garden versus them doing it in the forest and me doing it at home? There's no fucking difference. I'm just the exact same person as them. So you do really, it does really make you contemplate a lot of the time, especially when you're pinning like 3, 4 times a day. I've never got up above three, but it's like fucking hell, you're just a constant punch bag here. Where's next? You know?
I feel like Luke Littler, mate. Also, I feel like a human dart player.
Yeah,
Just pinning myself all the time. I've
yeah.
never gone above three either, but like you do think like what it is honestly it does. It makes you realize like goodness me, is it? And then I've been back on CRT for a while now. So like I said, with where I'm at currently, but I'm super happy with where I'm at currently. But then you think like I'm gonna try and when I transition back into what I was doing previously, I'll definitely be doing what you're doing when I say like I don't need to do as much, even though I haven't even done that much, mate, openly, like honestly. But it does make you realize like I'm making the most amount of progress I've made in terms of my physique, because I'm making progression in terms of business, whatever. But I'm happy in general, mate. Like I'm not thinking that I feel better as well. I'm not sweating in bed. Like these little things when you do actually think about it, like you just reminded me, like it just make things better. It just does. And
Yeah.
then, but yeah, man, it's definitely something that people just completely negate and go over, and they don't think about these things. And like I said, I think the reason why people don't go over it is because it doesn't get spoke about very often.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like a lot of people make these sort of decisions when they're in a bad headspace anyway, to be honest.
Mhm. I
I'll just
agree.
I'll just go on a cycle and just have a focus, if I go back on cycle and I can focus on the gym, I can focus on press my physique, focus on the other things first of all before you start doing that. Get yourself in a good place, then decide to do that because eventually using steroids is going to be a very temporary thing. Eventually, you have to come down at some point, unless
Mhm.
you're a fucking madman that wants to stay on for the rest of your life, which some people fucking do. So those issues aren't going to go away with yourself. If anything, I think steroids exacerbate those issues within yourself even more. So get those things sorted first of all,
This is
and
literally what we spoke about. We literally
yeah,
said if you have an issue, it's going to heighten that issue. If you have a personality trait, it's going to heighten that personality trait. It
yeah,
just is. And if you can be in a position where you can go, okay, I'm in a great position, but like from a, like spiritually as a person, next thing you know, you're going to put yourself in a greater position when obviously if you do go on, you can. But I think if somebody has like an issue psychologically, it's going to enhance that. If you're anxious, it's going to make you more anxious. If you're already stressed, it's going to make you more stressed. And like I said, mate, this is why seeing you become who you are now is really cool to see because a lot of people will look at you and go, yeah, like he's made that mistake that I could have made. Next
mm,
thing you know, and next thing you know, he's talking about how he's turned it into a positive. And now, you, like I said, I keep reiterating, you're using less, making more progress than you ever have, and
mm,
you're in a better headspace. Your relationship's better because of it as well. You're probably
yeah,
living a better life as well in terms of how you're feeling, and you find the balance, mate, that people crave. People
yeah,
people crave, and obviously people say fuck balance, and I do agree in terms of like if you want a goal, but like in terms of balance with but maximizing bodybuilding, but also maximizing your life and your mental well-being at the same time. It's good to see that you're balancing that massively, and a lot of people can learn from you, mate, because it's good to see.
yeah. No, I appreciate it. That's all I wanted. Yes, I've taken it. Yes, would I have made more progress with my physique if I kept doing what I was doing post 2022? Yeah, of course. If I kept posting on YouTube, yeah, I'd probably have more subscribers and earning more money. But I don't care about that. I don't really care about earning X amount. I don't care about the YouTube. Well, sometimes as much as what I did then. I was getting validation from other people. Because I'm like fucking hell, like this is going to be great. Keep going, but. It doesn't, it really, when you really think about it, like if I die tomorrow, people are going to forget about it soon and at some point, that's the reality
But
of it.
it'll come, mate. This is what it like. People
Yeah.
try and fast track their way to where they want to be, but it'll come through our actions anyway. Like we're gonna get there. We're still gonna do the same thing. If I stopped bodybuilding, I didn't want to step on stage, whatever. I'm still gonna do everything that I was doing before. Still get up, do cardio, still get up, do steps, still get up, make my meals. I'm still gonna eat 5, 6 times a day because I
Yeah.
love doing what I'm doing. It's gonna come naturally anyway. When it comes, it comes.
Yeah.
So people just think I need it now. So I need
Yeah.
to take this and that and do this and do this and it makes them not present, makes them push people away. Next thing you know, this is what happens where they're not seeing that gratification and self-validation of others. Next thing you know, they go to hybrid training, try and do something else. The next thing, try and do things and then come back, all starts over again.
Yeah. Just like I said, vicious circle. For me, I was buying shoes. That was it. Like, every week I was buying a new pair of fucking TNs and stuff like that, just spunking money like nobody's business. A pair of shoes, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
I barely even wear half of them anymore, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I was just trying to get like, oh, like post this on my Instagram story. What do people think? And blah blah blah. And yeah, people were liking them. Like, yeah, fuck yeah. And fucking pair of shoes, mate. Fuck off.
Totally, totally.
Oh, yeah, I've done some tap shit to be honest, but I'm aware of it now. I've done a lot. I'm doing therapy at the moment. I
I was
do
going
that.
to ask, how are you finding that?
Um, See, I've never really spoken about my feelings. Like my dad, I've never really opened my dad when I was younger. I didn't have that relationship where I've ever really been able to express emotions. It's all just man up and get on with it sort of mentality. So it's very weird for me to actually sit down and talk about my week and what's going through my head. I still really struggle with it now, to be honest with you. But it's definitely I think everyone should do a little bit of therapy at some point in their life, to be honest with you. whether there's you feel like you've got no problems, because you can dive into so many things that actually just get you to think in different ways. I started actually reading books as well, to be honest. Never read a book in my life, to be honest. I'm too retarded to read books because I get to a word and I just start making words up in my head, and I'm just like, I'm not even paying attention to this.
Yeah.
But I've actually really made an effort when I'm doing my cardio to read a book, and yeah, even those sort of things help me learn massively. So yeah, it's going well, to be honest with you. I definitely recommend it.
Good, I'm glad. Because in America, therapy is normalized. If you don't have a therapist, it's like, why haven't you got a therapist? But
Yeah.
around here, it's like, you've got a therapist. What do you mean you got a therapist? You're right. What? I think it should be normalized for sure. And I think
Yeah.
the fact that you've done that, and like you said, you've reaped the rewards from it, it's made you think in a different way, made you probably have a different outlook on things as well.
Yeah.
Helped you massively. So, no, I'm glad it's going well for you, man. I'm glad it's going well for you. But, mate, I've spoke about everything that I want to do, mate. Spoke about your prep, spoke about obviously how you improved over a period of time. I wanted to sort of delve into like the mental side of things as well, mate, which we've covered on. Like I said, people will watch this, hopefully get a lot out of this where they haven't got to feel like they have to be 100% all into bodybuilding to the point where they have to take away from their own life and their own family and themselves essentially. Um, and they can be happy with being who they are, but also as well understand that they can live the life that they probably want to live alongside bodybuilding as well, and understand that and see the progress that you've made over the past 8 months, mate, doing what you've done. So it's good to see. So this will resonate with a lot of people, mate. I'm telling you, which is
Yeah, no,
fantastic. It's fantastic.
I appreciate it. That's what it's all about. It's yeah, that you start to realize, and I'm 27, I'm quite older than you boys, but you start to realize at this sort of point, like, okay, there's some more things in life that I want to do as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
when I was 21, 22, 23, 24, like, you don't give a fuck. No one's going to be in your way of doing things. And whilst I'm not that much older, really, when you think about it, you do get to points where I'm like, oh, fucking hell, you know what? I've not even traveled like anywhere.
Also,
You
what
know,
you've been through over the past 2 years, like that's separating. Like, I'm 25 in October. Like what you've been through over the past 2 years changes somebody dramatically. So I know you're not that much older, but what you've been through, mate, since being 25 and 27, like it does exponentially change you as a person and have a different outlook. So
yeah,
it
that's why
is,
I lost my hair. That's why
yeah,
I'm
man. Lost his
it's
hair and now,
it's stress.
yeah, mate, wearing TNs and a pink top, and now he's losing his hair.
I know,
To be
fucking
fair, mate,
hell.
if I could rock a, to be fair, mate, I could rock a pink tee. I've got matching budgies and a bucket hat for holiday, mate. So I'll be rocking that for sure.
Yeah, come on. Yeah,
But it's
well,
all good. But now, mate, like I said, if you want to, Connor,
I'm pretty happy, mate. We got everything out there.
mate,
You said you're coaching yourself for this prep.
yeah. Well, Vicky is coaching me, but we sort of run by it. So I used to work with Louis, and
Yeah.
I've realized Louis is a fantastic coach. I've got nothing bad to say about him at all with his service and how he treated me. And Louis was fantastic in terms of the relationship aspect of things as well, which was really really important. Like the communication between me, Vicky, and him was great. I'm just not coachable. I'm
Right.
not. I never have been, and I've realized that. Like even when I used to work with AJ back in 2019, I started doing way more cardio in my prep. I started doing way more steps. I started to do things without telling him. I did it when I used to work with Cal post show. I did that, but that's a different story. And with Louis, I just got to the point where I was just like, right, Louis, I want you to take charge and tell me what to do. But then I'll get 2 weeks into it and I'll just start doing my own thing again. So I'm just like, I just can't do this. Whereas with Vicky, I can kind of be a bit more flexible with it in terms of what I want to do. And obviously I trust her with my whole heart. So she's always got my best interest. And she kind of keeps me tame as well, because when I used to work with Cal post show, I was like ready to be a mass monster. And that's what Cal wanted me to do, is he wanted me to be an absolute mass monster. And
Yeah.
I would have got there, to be fair. But at the same time, like Vicky's like, right, okay, let's just think like this. Let's think like this. She's the most intelligent person I've ever met. So when it comes to her knowledge around PEDs, health, like her
mm,
blood work, in reality, she does all my gear for me. She pins all my gear. Like, I'm very lucky, and I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? She's the most important person when it comes to all of that, and I have full trust in her with everything.
that's class, man.
I don't
That's
Yeah.
feel, yeah, I don't think anyone else can coach me anymore.
that's
Yeah,
that's class.
very lucky.
It's gonna work well, mate. And the final product is gonna be something. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, like this year is just I know I'm not going to probably win a bodybuilding show unless I'm the only one in class.
Still,
Uh,
mate, get the dub. Just
yeah,
don't
of
tell them all
course.
that you're the only person in the
Yeah, I
class.
won't tell anyone. That's the thing. But at the same time, like for me, it's just like I sort of fry when I see someone like bit like for example, I went to the shed 2 weeks ago. I saw James there. He's like 304 pounds. Took his
Yeah.
top off. I'm like, what the actual fuck? I'm like, I'm actually going to send it. Whilst I never want to be that big, it's too big for me. But I was like, the motivation I got from just seeing him and seeing big guys is crazy.
Mhm.
When I go to natural shows, unfortunately, I love natural bodybuilding. I go there. I am motivated, but I'm just like, ugh. But when I see someone rock up on stage, I'm just like, what the fuck? And you do get that at random natural shows, some random guys, just no social media, whatever, and it's just the biggest fucking guy you've ever seen. You think, who
Mm.
the fuck's this? But when I go sit around sister people, I'm just like, it's fucking cool. It's
Yeah.
absolutely, I'm going to send. So it's motivation for me, really, in that sense. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Will be interesting. Although I haven't decided what show I'm doing yet. I said to you about the NFM Europeans, but
Mhm.
that's I'm not even sure. I'm not even going to plan it, which is
But
rare.
there's no need to plan, mate. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get to a week where you look at yourself, like you look at yourself and you go, I'm probably about 2 weeks out here. What shows in 2 weeks?
Yeah,
That's literally what it'll be, mate. And then you go, okay, peak week on stage, and then that's the best feeling, man, because you got no pressure of being. You got to be the put. Oh, it'll be this day, and then it's in 5 weeks. If the fight these next 5 weeks have got to go perfect. Like
yeah.
next, mate, you'll be 10 days out from a show and go, okay, what shows next weekend? Sam, let's just do that one, and then
Good.
just follow land, and it just goes. Next thing you know, you gather data from that show. Okay, do you need to be a little bit sharper here? Let's have a look at another show in 2, 3 weeks. Oh, so yep, this, that one. Cool. Next thing you know, it rolls on. And you'll find yourself not stressing your bag off, mate, thinking, okay, my show's in 6 weeks' time. I need to be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, I've never done this approach before, so it'd be interesting. I've always knew exactly what shows I'm
Mhm.
doing. I'm 20 weeks out, 16 weeks out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've loved that way. I love that way because I'm like, right, okay, 4 weeks out, lock in, but I'm just gonna freestyle it and see where we end up.
But it makes no difference because you're always locked in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. We said to me the other week in destination.
That's the thing, mate. You're always
Yeah,
locked in. Nothing changes. So if you put your extra pressure on yourself saying I'm locked in, well, what's actually changed? Nothing. 'Cause you're
yeah.
already locked in, so it's all good.
Hang
But
on.
now, man, thank you so much for coming on. I will get you to say your Instagram and your YouTube, mate, because there might be the odd person who doesn't know you, but like I said, they will do so. Um, fire it across, mate. Tell people
So
where to find you.
Instagram's George Osborne 12. 12 is my lucky number, hence why it's 12. 'Cause people actually ask me that actually. It's just 12. And my YouTube is just George Osborne, but I'm not that MP canceller guy because there's some MP guy called George Osborne. You type him in, you're the first one to come up. It ain't me. So you just have to type in George Osborne bodybuilding or something, and I'll come
Mhm.
up. But yeah, boys, I just want to say I appreciate you inviting me on. It's been cool to chat because it's sad. I try not to leave on a sad note. I don't have many friends, so I don't really socialize. So this is like a social occasion for me.
Nah, man, mate.
Cool.
Honestly, after we were already going to have you on, mate, and I literally messaged Connor. I was like, mate, read George on because I just saw you, and it worked perfectly. So
I
appreciate you
appreciate
coming on short notice, mate. Less
Yeah,
than
we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
legend. But now, mate, thank you so much. As you know, guys, so search for George YouTube. You got George Osborne 12 there on Instagram. Like, subscribe, comment, tag us as always, and we'll see you in the next one. Love.